Hi folks, Puffin here. Another spell to end fascism in America, end fascism, terrorism, and treason in America. And so this is part 3 of a spell that has been focused on Joe Biden, ending fascism, and Joe Biden, President Joe Biden himself, any lingering fascism, any connections to fascism, or any centrist enabling of fascists like leaving Donald Trump running around free. And various things. I'm not going to get into the list because I did that in the previous spells about arresting Trump for his own good, for the good of the country, for the good of the world, about making peace, ending war, ending militarism. That helps end poverty and is all based on ending racism as well. So all these things go together. They're all part of ending fascism. It also, of course, involves ending sexism and homophobia, and it involves saving the planet, it involves environmentalism, ending the anti-environmentalism, I don't know what you call that. Ending pollution is one way to call it, but now it's like ending the people who insist on old, bad energy methods instead of green energy, because they're going to destroy the planet, and they're killing people. Like, they're responsible for all the deaths from climate catastrophe, like all those heat wave deaths, over 1,000 heat wave deaths in the northwestern United States and Canada from this last heat wave, and just more all the time, and they're responsible for that. So we do need to save the planet. It's all part of the same thing. We can end poverty, we can end racism, we can end fascism, we can save the planet, we can end sexism. We can do all this together, and meaning we do it all working together, and we do all of these different things together at the same time. How does that happen? How do you do all the different good things at the same time? By finally addressing the bad people and the bad ideas, the bad policies, and the bad workings, the bad powers, you could even say, that are responsible for it. And, they've lined up clearly behind Trump, for instance, or behind Putin. Putin is the one behind Trump, so, that's who you really can't criticize, or they really won't ever. Even the ones who criticize Trump often shy away from saying anything about Putin. They're playing both sides. But that's the bad side. Trump, Putin, Facebook, that's the bad side. Now, Trump is even supposedly suing Facebook now. But it's, as part of that's kind of them eating their own, blaming each other, the fact that traders are going to trade, they're turning on each other. That is a thing, and that's going to continue. They're going to be flipping on each other like flapjacks. But, that's been increasing and will continue to increase. But there's got to be some people in these positions of power who actually hold them accountable. It can't be just them, backstabbing and destroying each other. There's got to be somebody trying to hold them accountable. And then just the people in general holding accountable. That's going to happen too. Like, there's boycotts of, forcing them to kick certain people out of their speaking engagements, was something I heard of recently. But this is a spell. I'm kind of musing on ideas of today. And this spell is to get fascism out of ourselves, out of our country, out of the world, and out of Joe Biden, is what this has been focused on for these last few days. Now, I don't know of anything that Joe Biden said or did today, so no idea. If the spell was working the way it'll work, you would hear something, though. There'll be a revolutionary change. So that's still what we're looking for. We're still looking for this revolutionary change. But it doesn't have to come from Joe Biden. It can come, and it is coming, from the people. He can respond to it. He can live up to it and represent the people in that, true American vision of democracy, that the president represents the American people. He can live up to the moment, But that's going to require a change on the part of Joe Biden. And he's good. He's better than, he's a good person. He's better than Trump, who's a bad person, okay? Joe Biden's trying, but he's also part of a, big bad system. Let's be real. And, some reform of that system that's not strong enough just isn't strong enough. It's not good enough. It's got to get better. It's got to get better fast. And there's nothing wrong with it getting radically better. Like, there's nothing wrong with going full communist. Like, let's be real. If that's what scares these Trumpers the most, if that's the byword that they're going to try to frighten people the most by saying it's communist. There's a communist takeover of America. Let's do it. If that's their greatest nightmare, that's our greatest dream. That's the true American dream, because they've lined up behind all the bad things. They've lined up behind anti-environmentalism. They've lined up now behind anti-free speech. They've lined up behind anti-voting, anti-democracy. They've lined up behind racism and sexism, and they've done this over and over again. But they've done it so clearly in this Trump era that it's just like they're all lined up. It's time to end it by ending all their influence and ending all the enabling influence of Democrats, many Democrats, and just like ourselves, like the way we think about it, the way we think, oh, it doesn't really matter, or there's nothing I can do. There's totally stuff you can do. You can run for office is one of the best things you can do. And you can start to actually taking it over, being a change and being the government. Because that's the whole idea. If you don't think democracy can be good, it's because you don't think people can be good. And sure, we all need to meet better people. Meet more better people to give us a better impression of humanity. But that's totally possible. And it's possible for us all to become better. And that's where the real transformation comes in. That's where the real magic comes in. Try to make ourselves better. To make the world better. And to consider that we have things within ourselves that internalize. Okay, so that reminds me of one thing that I wanted to mention. There was a just awesome meme-worthy picture of Richard Branson in space, and a story about how he's beaten Jeff Bezos to space. And I made some comment about, just based on intuition, I don't really know that much about either one of them. Well, Richard Branson seemed like a better person than Jeff Bezos. And then I immediately had to leave a secondary comment and said, I'm sorry, this whole idea of better people is a white supremacist. It's part of this whole culture of like ranking people and stuff, and it's just not true. There aren't better people and worse people. It's just like there's definitely people who are doing bad things, and that's bad. But it's not because there's something good or bad about this person or that person. That's because of decisions and things you get caught up in, and all the evil of people. Like people, so I guess some people think they're evil. Most people don't really think they're evil. And definitely people don't realize or understand that Trump, yeah, evil. He is evil. They'll figure that out. Or some people, a lot of them will figure that out in the future. Trump and Putin, they're evil. And they don't represent their countries. People who betray really all human values for Nazi fascist values, which Trump and Putin have clearly shown they do. People who do that don't belong to a country, or they're betraying all of humanity, and you don't have to. It's unfortunate that a country's actions can therefore be swayed by those people when they're in power, but you don't have to judge a country or its people by their terrible corrupt rulers who have taken over. Gosh, there's terrible corrupt rulers who have taken over every country, aren't there? Pretty much, not every country, I shouldn't say that, but lots and lots of countries. That's kind of more the norm than it is not the norm. It's for people's rulers to be terrible and corrupt. So, it's nice to think we can have a new system. Democracy was supposed to be a new system from the tyranny of kings. But we can have a new system after that. Not even post-democracy, you can still be democracy. But the democracy that we've had has not been good. I mean, it's not been real democracy. It's been like, only white people or only white men for a long time, and then, just it's been very limited, and they're still trying to limit it. So you can tell there's this struggle for democracy that we never quite got, or never quite get, and they're still trying to take away what we got. So, like, that hasn't happened yet. We can still look forward to it. But one thing that comes with it, like, we have 100% mail-in voting in Colorado. So we have legal weed, because that's what people really want. But can they keep you from doing it with the political process? Yes. But if you have 100% mail-in voting, then you get closer to what people really want, which is why they're so against mail-in voting, because they don't want what the people want, they want what they want. So democracy actually works if you let it work, if you let people actually get involved and get educated and stuff. So that's what we want. We want our leaders to reflect that, and that's why I want to do a spell that is to get fascism and evil out of our country, out of ourselves, and out of Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden's the one in power now and can do a lot, and is doing some things, but can do a lot more and a lot faster to help remove all fascism from this country, from this world, from himself, and help us remove it from ourselves by setting a good example. We've had Trump setting an example of being a fascist for a long time, and Biden did a great job. Really one of the best things I think he's done, because he's kind of canceled some pipelines and stuff, but not enough. Like, he's done some good things, but not enough, even of the good things he's done. But one of the best things he's done, just clear cut, was before he even became president, in the debates, when in the campaign, when he called Trump Putin's puppy. Now, he might have been trying to say Putin's puppet, and it just came out as Putin's puppy, which is an insult to all dogs, and nothing against dogs. Dogs never did anything to anybody that deserved to be called that way. But it just sounds funny, Putin's puppy. And it makes sense, it's like it fits better than puppet, because Trump is such a whiny little bitch. But and he is Putin's bitch. Like, that's an important thing to remember. It's treason. You can remove his justices, because it's not like they're rightfully appointed. It's not like the senators and all that, they're still supporting him. None of those people are American anymore. It's the same thing for anybody that goes Nazi. If you go Nazi, you're not from the country or the ethnicity or the culture or anything that you were before. Like, you're corrupting that and betraying that to be this anti-human thing. And don't, it's bad. Like, we'd rather you be a human. Like, come back to being a human, not a Nazi, not a traitor. Come back to being American, not a Trumper. And even Joe Biden, like, come on full with the American stuff. Like, it's good to get some of it. It's good to get it started. It's good to get back to it. But let's get into the fullness of it. Let's get into real equality, real addressing of injustices and evils in our society. Because we've had evils in our society, and plenty of people know it, and plenty of people are talking about it, and they can try to talk about banning talking about it or something like that, because they're that much against free speech or whatever. But we're talking about it. Like, it's happening. Like, we're going to stop the evils in society. You don't need to be trying to control that and slow down the progress. You don't need to be trying to control it. It's good to try to control it in some way to help direct it. It's good to help direct it as the president. But you don't need to control it by trying to make sure we don't get free college education or don't get free universal health care. Like, what if we really want that? Don't stand in the way of that just because some insurance companies want to. Just get on the right side of history. Same with green energy, which you seem to be kind of doing, but let's go full force. The infrastructure plan, the jobs plan, all that seems good if you're getting these green energies. But it's like, while you're making new roads, go ahead and make them like solar panel coated, and make them have solar charging stations, or go ahead and go all out. Like, make it as big as you can with a complete revamp. because you're going to want to have done that sometime anyway. So while you're doing all this work and you're out there in the heat, go ahead and do it now. So I'm going to end this for now and get back to it later, because it looks like, I haven't gotten nearly enough of this out to say this is done. But this is the second night, July 12th, 2021, of doing this spell. The first time I did it was the night of July 11th, and we'll watch for it bearing fruit. Thanks for watching, sharing. Thanks for commenting and contributing. You're contributing just by watching, but contribute even more by leaving a comment. And we're going to make this magic work, because we've got to save the world, to save ourselves, to save our souls, to save our countries, but really just to save the humanity, to save the world, to save all of us together, because we are all in this together, as this recent pandemic has shown. But some people are still wanting to be against the world, against humanity, terrorists and Trumpers, trying to say there's no virus, or the vaccine doesn't work, or whatever. Like, they're just trying to get more people killed because they're part of this terrorist network. That's all they care about. I guess they maybe, Trump gets some money from Putin for more people that die or whatever. But like, it's really bad. Like, we really need to see that for what it is, and see these people who are terrorizing us with guns and stuff for what they are, Trump or terrorists, and stop them. So we've got to stop the fascism. Joe Biden has a huge role in doing that. But if he has some of his own inherent residing fascism, he's not going to be able to do it as effectively. And as I was saying before, if there's something about, like, not arresting a former president, well, no former president has refused to acknowledge defeat like this before. So he's, broken all this custom, besides being a complete traitor in the first place and all along. He's broken complete custom by not accepting defeat. And you've got to stop that. Like, apparently Hitler was in jail after holding some public office or whatever, before he got out of jail, got back into politics and became the terrible person that he fully became. We cannot let that happen with Trump, because he is, the Hitler too, that we have to worry about in this world right now. Well, with Putin pulling his strings. And when World War II killed 17, 20 million Russians, and Putin's got the Russian people trolling for Trump, for Hitler too, that's a betrayal of Russia. That's a betrayal of their ancestors and people. Just like people in America doing it is a betrayal of our ancestors and our country and our people. All this stuff about Trump is a betrayal of America, but it's also a betrayal of the people that America is. Our people. It's a betrayal of us. It's a betrayal of our ancestors. And that's why we have to get it out. We have to show people how it was wrong, how wrong it was. Don't pull any punches. You can't call them dogs or clowns. Like Jim Acosta had to apologize for calling Trump a clown, because it's not appropriate. It's insulting to clowns. Because clowns are professionals and, performers and good. But it's the same for anything. Anything but besides Nazi, the worst word you can come up with for them, and the most appropriate, is wrong, because that's what they are. And if we don't call them and treat them like that, then they continue getting away with it. The people think it's okay. It's just not okay. It's evil. So let's make sure people know it's evil. Let's make sure we do all we can to stop it in the world, all around us, and in ourselves, because there are ways that it creeps into our own thoughts. Oh yeah, so Richard Branson got to space, and I said he's not better. I said he seems like a better person, but then I realized, no, people aren't better. No, the picture's hilarious, but like I had to catch myself from something that I was just conditioned to say. Oh, this person is better, this person is a better person. And that's not true. People aren't better. Like, we're all people. We all have our struggles and stuff. We all have our stuff. And we can all help each other out if we actually care about each other. Now, it's bad to be doing certain things, like completely acting uncaring about everybody or trying to kill a bunch of people. That's terrible. Obviously. But there's ways we can all be better. And by being better people that we can be better at helping other people too. Now, Joe Biden, could be Bernie. A lot of people wanted Bernie. He can still steal more of Bernie's ideas. We can implement more of Bernie's ideas. It would be better. We'll see things get better faster the more we do together, and the more we do with other countries. And there's a lot of countries that, all we're doing is trying to preserve a certain status or interest. If we give that up, because that's fascism, if we give imperialism and stuff, if we give that up in favor of this communalism and help, just, being good, trying to set the best example of who can be the best, who can help the most. If we get into that type of race with China, who can be the most helpful, go the greenest, the fastest, help the most people out of poverty, and help life be the best for the most people, the fastest. We can save the environment the fastest, who can restore human rights, because we have human rights problems in this country. Like, we have to restore that. We don't have any room to tell anybody else, but we have to restore human rights in this country, and that'll be a good thing. It won't, it's, what elite status quo ruling powers are afraid of, but it'll be good for them too. It'll be good for everybody not to have this tension and pain and suffering in the world. So we can have a world that's just good for everybody. When we get rid of fascism, it will be that world. Like I said, I'm going to have to cut this off, but thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll do it again until it's done. And this will take a little more work, but I do feel like what has been done will be reflected in the world. You'll see it, having seen this, and it will be reflected in the world, and with even more to be done, that will also be reflected in the world. But the more we do it and the more we believe in it, the faster and better it will work. Thanks for watching. See you soon.